Friends and enemies, welcome to another edition of the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. You're probably getting really sick of hearing me, but don't worry, your wishes are going to be granted. I'm going to be joined by Joey not too long from now. I guess officially tomorrow we're going to do Axis of Easy, but somebody who we're not sick of is Boomer, who's joining me today. Boomer, how are you?
Speak for yourself. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are plenty sick
man.
of me.
Fuck that. You're one of our biggest fans, one of our biggest friends, and I'm happy to bring you back on, and I'm sure Joey is as well. Today we'll be talking about MicroStrategy and a few, as we talked about in the past, or just a few moments ago, some higher level shit. We're not going to go too deep into this, but hopefully at least answer some questions for people that may have them out there, or put some thoughts to rest which may be floating around, or some misconceptions. But yeah, it's going to be fun chat. And if anybody has anything they want to talk about, good or bad, about MicroStrategy or any other company doing a Bitcoin strategy, the Treasury Reserve, feel free to punch in some comments here in the chat. This is live. This is fun. This is CBP. But before we go any further, aside from your Macho Man shirt, which I love, you're wearing that, let's talk about a few sponsors. Number one, we have EasyDNS, and Mark was just on the show last week. What a great guy. Very thankful to have met him. Very thankful to have partnered up with EasyDNS. So if you're looking for any domain name stuff, so if you're looking to register a domain name or renew a domain name or move a domain name, you could do that with EasyDNS. Easy enough at that. If you want web hosting, or you already have web hosting and you want to migrate it over to EasyDNS because they're private and so forth, they're there. They'll give you the great coverage, the great service that they always provide. If you want to do email hosting or start your own email hosting, move it over. If you already have email hosting, you could do that with EasyDNS. Lots of different options over there. So it's not just simply starting up websites or running your own email, but you could also do like a Nostr relay. You could also run, if you wanted to, even a Bitcoin node if you wanted to with them. It's going to be hosted by them, and you could just pawn off all the shit for them to take care of. So check them out, easydns.com. If you use our promo code CBP Media, your first order, 50% will be taken off from that first month. So what I suggest is load up that fucking cart with as many things as possible, because you're getting 50% off by using the promo code CBP Media. Check it out, easydns.com. Boomer, second sponsor, Bull Bitcoin. You're familiar with them, right?
Very familiar. Greatest exchange in the world.
Yeah, I'm sure you buy your Bitcoin with them. You would sell with them if you had to sell for fiat currency, right? They're yeah. So lots of different options with them. You could buy on-chain. You could buy with Lightning. Let's check out what the fees are. Are you aware if the fees are jumping up, Boomer?
I don't think so. Are they still around 6 or 7?
Oh, my node is just... I have to fix that. I got to set it back up. So it was a little bit higher, and I have to check mempool. My node looks like it's offline. 7 sats per VByte.
Yeah.
So that's still very cheap. So buy on-chain using Bull Bitcoin, but not just simply buying or selling. You could do other things with Bull Bitcoin. Look, they're number one, they're non-custodial. When you buy it with them, it's not custodial. This is what you want from an exchange. But you can also start spending your Bitcoin in the real world. How do you do that? Well, with them, you go buy gift cards, and those gift cards for like Amazon or Home Depot or whatever, you purchase them with your Bitcoin, and you can start spending them just like you are spending your Bitcoin. That's pretty cool stuff, because merchants over here in Canada don't accept Bitcoin directly, but they'll take those gift cards which you bought through Bull Bitcoin with your Bitcoin. Other thing you could do, you could pay your bills. Like, say you have a cell phone bill or an electricity bill or whatever, you could use your bill service to pay those bills with your Bitcoin. Look, the price of Bitcoin is now hovering around 96,000. Is that old? I think old. You know what it is?
Did it go back down? It was up to 98 or 99, right?
I reset my router and I didn't. Yes, 98. So that's old. I got to fix that. So don't look at my block clock, because I just resetted my router not too long ago and I didn't fix it. So yeah, a lot of different options with Bull Bitcoin. You could buy and sell, hold, whatever the heck you got to do. But use our promo code below, and by doing so, you're going to get $21 added to your account once you sign up and fund it. And the third sponsor is Decentral Tech, and here it is. This is the EasyDNS. This is the CBP branded BitAxe, and it has been shipped. I have it in my hands. It is a wonderful device. It is hashing away, securing the network. Hopefully you've ordered one, and hopefully if you have, it's been shipped to you. If not, it should be coming momentarily. But what does Decentral Tech offer? Lots of different options over there. If you're looking to set up a mining operation at your home, small scale, large scale, medium size scale, whatever the heck you want. So you can get like these BitAxes, which are very efficient, very quiet. You get something much more heavy duty, like an S21. You could do those home heating solutions with mining. A lot of different options over there. Check them out. They're based in Canada, Montreal specifically. So if you're a Canadian and looking to get any equipment with respect to mining, they're the people to talk to. Check them out. Decentral Tech. Boomer.
What's up, buddy? I'm seeing like your Jerichoholic Ninja, and now I'm thinking about like Jericho back in WCW. Like, was it Cletus, the guy that he had as his like bodyguard? The old guy who was like a truck driver.
I didn't see that side of the Jericho, so I can't say.
That was like right after the he went to Washington to complain that he got screwed over.
Oh,
it's like when he was kind of feuding with Goldberg.
Yeah, okay, I did. Yeah,
is it he
had Ralphus.
Yeah. So I gotta change.
I have that shirt upstairs.
There we go.
The hell? There it is. Yeah, the Jericho personal security. I have that upstairs.
Yeah.
But Boomer, you're here because we'll be talking about none other than MicroStrategy. And let's lead things off. Of course, anything we're going to say here is not financial advice. We don't know what the fuck we're doing, what the fuck we're talking about. So anything you do, it's
a little bit.
Not even a little bit. It's anything you do listening based on what we're talking about. It's all on you, people. Make sure you do your own research because we know fuck all. But with that,
90s wrestling, we're all right though.
Even with that, it's not financial advice.
It's not financial advice. Definitely not financial advice. But like wrestling stuff, like wrestling trivia, you can trust us. You can trust Land especially.
Oh yeah, even the 80s. Go back.
Financial advice, like no, we're just is like just for fun. It's just people talking here. So what you do with your own money, do your own research first.
I wonder
and don't trust some guy wearing a Randy Man, Macho Man Savage t-shirt.
No, or some guy on the internet saying his name is Michael Saylor as well too. Like, do we trust him? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Either way, he's saying some stuff. He's saying a lot of good stuff with respect to Bitcoin. He's saying some strange stuff with respect to Bitcoin as well, like it not being money. Like, I don't know. There are people using Bitcoin as money, so he's wrong on that front. But either way, he's doing something where a lot of people haven't done yet, but it seems to be a strategy that's picking up. It's buying Bitcoin and adding it to the balance sheet of his company or the company that he is associated with, MicroStrategy. Any thoughts? Like anything you want to just before we go dive deeper?
Yeah, this is something I brought this up to you guys, to you and Joey, a couple of weeks ago in a personal chat that we were in, and it's because I really think that this MicroStrategy stuff is all over the place in Bitcoin, on Bitcoin Twitter, and among Bitcoiners. You go to the meetups, and people are asking about MicroStrategy, but there's a lot of stuff out there that I don't know how accurate it is. It's just like half accurate, and people are confused, and there's a lot of questions out there, but people don't really know how to ask. So I just thought it would be good to have somebody to come on and talk about it a little bit. And by no means am I an expert in this, but I have gone down the MicroStrategy rabbit hole a little bit. Like I've spent quite a few hours like listening to not just Michael Saylor himself, and not just I've watched the Q3 earnings call that he did a couple of times. I've been actively watching MSTR True North and the Quant Bros. There are a couple of podcasts out there that focus on this MicroStrategy strategy that Saylor and company are doing over there. And I just thought it would be good to kind of, from a 2,000 feet above view, and just kind of say it. We all know the stock has gone up crazy over the past year. So MicroStrategy has outperformed Bitcoin by a fair bit over the past year. So MicroStrategy is up a little over 500%, and Bitcoin. How much is Bitcoin up? 300%, 300 or 400%, maybe even less.
Something like that.
Something like that.
In the past month, it's been tremendous, but yeah.
So MicroStrategy has outperformed Bitcoin over the past little while, and I think what we're seeing right now are a lot of the people that would be onboarded into Bitcoin are kind of being onboarded on to MicroStrategy instead. I think the bull market seems to have started, and it seems like MicroStrategy stock and options have kind of become the shitcoin of this bull cycle, if you want to call it that.
It's getting some press, even like in Wall Street Bets. It's
Yes.
getting a little bit of eyes. Now, for those who like it, or even, let's be honest, it gives, it's a leverage play on Bitcoin. At least
Yeah.
that's what it's touted to be.
Yeah.
And you could use it in these tax advantaged accounts. Like in
Yes.
Canada, we have the TFSA or even RSP, or I guess in the States, you could put in a 401k. Is that tax advantages by doing either way? There's ways you could buy it. So that's why people look at it. We have to live. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. We have to live in a fiat system. We have to live in a fiat world for the most part, right? When we pay our bills, when we go out and about, we can't just use gift cards always. We still have to use some fiat. So if you're some exposure to MicroStrategy, if you think the price of Bitcoin is going up, take advantage of that, especially in a tax advantaged account, and reap all the rewards. Maybe not ape into it, but certainly, a little bit might go a long way. Thoughts?
Well, I certainly get the people that say that if you're Bitcoin only, that means Bitcoin, hold your own keys, self custody, all that. I get it. Like I completely get it. But like you just said, it may or may not be realistic for everybody. Some people have money locked up in an RRSP for whatever reason, because it's been there for a long, long time, and it's just there, and they got to do something with it. And these people they believe in the ethos of Bitcoin, and they want to be able to support Bitcoin in some way. And you have limited options right now. So there's the Bitcoin ETFs, there's MicroStrategy, there's the exchanges, like Coinbase, there's the miners, the Bitcoin miners, of course. So of those options, MicroStrategy is the one that's the best performing of the past little while. Maybe there's like some tiny mining company that's outperformed them, but I don't think so. And I really want to talk about exactly what MicroStrategy are doing. You mentioned before that it's a leverage play on Bitcoin. And that's true. They're trying to do that. They're aiming to have 50% higher volatility to the upside to Bitcoin. So their goal is, if Bitcoin goes up by 100%, they're hoping that their stock goes up 150%. That's what they're trying to do. But of course, it'll be the same on the downside. It'll go down more on the downside. They're doing this not by just going into debt. I think that's one of the misconceptions out there among Bitcoiners. There's this idea that Michael Saylor is just borrowing money, buying Bitcoin, and that's how this thing is happening. And that's not really true. What they're doing are issuing convertible bonds. What a convertible bond is, yes, it's a debt instrument. It's a bond, but it has the optionality of converting to stock if the price of this stock reaches a certain target. So if MSTR reaches a certain target, a certain price, the debt will convert to stock. So that's dilutive. So that's going to dilute the amount. It's going to increase the amount of shares of MicroStrategy if that happens. But it's not exactly debt, right? So it is debt, but
yeah,
it would become shares, right? Now, and what they're doing by doing this is they're opening up markets for people that want to have Bitcoin on their balance sheets, but for whatever reason are mandated that they're not allowed to. Like a pension fund, for example. A pension fund, there's a certain amount of allocation that they have to have corporate bonds. And corporate bonds have not performed terribly well over the past little while. No bond has. Bonds have not done well recently in the past few years. Mm-hmm. So in comes these MicroStrategy bonds that these guys at hedge funds or at pension funds can buy, and it fulfills that part of their mandate, that this is now classified as a corporate bond. And because these bonds are incredibly volatile, and they offer a lot of upside exposure, and they have obviously a lot of exposure to Bitcoin. So it's an opportunity for these people to get exposure through their bond allocation, right? And they've issued a lot of these. MicroStrategy have issued quite a few of these bonds recently, like several tranches. Like, so they have different times. So they have different maturity dates and different maturity prices. So going forward. So as long as the price of Bitcoin keeps going up, potentially all of these corporate bonds will convert into shares, right? It'll dilute the amount of MicroStrategy shares there are there, but they won't mature to be debt. Now, the debt side of it, if Bitcoin goes down, these things won't convert into shares, and then MicroStrategy will have to service the debt of these bonds. But because there's so much demand for these products, there's people lining up outside the door to buy these things, that the demand has driven the interest rate on these bonds down, to the point that a large proportion of them, maybe even the majority of them, are at 0% interest rate. So even in a bear market, all MicroStrategy would have to do to service this debt would be to pay off the minimum payments of these things that are billions of dollars, but they are at 0% interest rate. So it's not the same as saying they're just borrowing Bitcoin, they're borrowing money to buy Bitcoin. It's not exactly the same thing.
It could be that. It's just depending on how things play out moving forward.
Yes.
That's an excellent explanation. Now, with respect to if the price of Bitcoin goes down and these are not converted into shares, and so they have to pay back at least a minimum and go from there. The way I understand it is what he's going to do at that particular moment, there'll just be a mechanism in place that he'll be able to, quote unquote, borrow more money moving forward and just kick that borrowing can down the road. That debt will never be paid. The way I'm seeing it, he's like running a small version of like the US government where they're just continually getting more and more debt with no intention of paying it back. And if things come and if they pay it back, let's borrow some more to pay that and just keep going from there. It's essentially like printing money, so to speak. It's they call it like the infinite money glitch.
Well, I can't speak to his intent, but he is able to keep issuing all this more debt. And he's doing so because the price of his stock is now trading at a premium to its holdings of Bitcoin. Right? So the last I checked, 402,000 Bitcoin times almost 100,000 per coin. So we're talking about about $40 billion worth of Bitcoin is on MicroStrategy's balance sheet. And the last I checked, the stock is trading around $405, giving it a market cap of about 95 billion. So there's a premium there.
Yeah, so more than 2x.
More than 2x, about 2.6x, I think. So,
but that's just based on the Bitcoin alone. Sorry to interrupt. That's strictly based on the Bitcoin alone. There's more to the company than just that. Not to say that it's as valuable or as desirable, but just there's more to MSTR than just that Bitcoin.
Yes, but to say that, yes, MicroStrategy does have like a software as a service business that's worth something.
Yes,
it's not a zero,
right?
But it's nowhere near $40 billion.
Agreed.
It's probably 10 billion at the most, 5 to 10 billion. I'm not quite sure, but that business is cash generating and they're not in debt. So it's reoccurring revenue that they're now able to use that reoccurring revenue from their online software business to pay off this debt if it doesn't convert, right? So if these bonds don't convert to shares and they do, that debt has to be serviced, the ongoing revenue from their software company can pay off that debt. Now, you mentioned like you didn't use the word Ponzi scheme, but you did say that like he can keep issuing debt. Well, one of the reasons why he's able to issue all these convertible notes is because of that premium. Because of the premium that his stock is worth more than the underlying asset of the Bitcoin. So he's able to use that to just sell off his shares and then buy Bitcoin and accumulate more and more and more.
And as the to do this, and then so you can continually do it, it's almost like a feedback loop.
Yes.
In that, yeah, it's going to work until, well, it doesn't.
Yes, he's able to keep issuing more shares. So they're all, aside from these convertible bonds that they're issuing, they're also issuing more shares at the money. So people say like ATM, like an ATM issuance, like the last one was $21 billion at the money.
Yes.
So
the number is significant, by the way, 21 billion, right?
Yeah. So the ATM is just throwing out more shares, diluting the amount of shares of MicroStrategy that are out there to just buy more Bitcoin. And right now, the shares of MicroStrategy are trading at a 2.6x premium to the Bitcoin that it holds. So by diluting the shares, by issuing more shares, you are then able to take that money, buy Bitcoin with that money, and that actually is accretive. It increases the amount of sats that each individual share holds. So you're diluting the stock in fiat terms. There's more fiat stock out there, but you're actually increasing the value of these shares if you measure them in Bitcoin.
Now, with respect to this, give me the case why somebody would want to invest in MicroStrategy. And I don't think you were preparing for this, but I'm wondering, is there any way that you would see somebody may want to park a portion of their wealth in MicroStrategy?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you used the word invest, because that's what this is. This is investing. You save in Bitcoin. Hold your own keys. You have Bitcoin. That is savings. You're just saving in a different type of money. What you're doing with MicroStrategy, that is absolutely investing. Mm-hmm. There is risk of loss here for sure. Absolutely. Now, under what circumstances would somebody? I would recommend. First of all, I'm not giving any financial advice.
Yeah.
To me, I feel better. I would feel better having my money invested in MicroStrategy than I would in any of the miners, for sure. Right off the bat. Definitely more than I would feel better in MicroStrategy than I would in Coinbase. I feel, and the ETFs, I think I feel better in MicroStrategy than I do in the ETFs. So if you're someone that has money locked away in some sort of pension fund, that's like a RSP, some sort of retirement account, and you're looking for a Bitcoin related equity, to me, this one is at the top of the list.
Any reason why somebody would not want to invest in MicroStrategy?
Well, there's risk. There's a lot of risk here, right?
Okay.
But it's like you said, like if Bitcoin goes down, he's going to have to service this debt. They're going to have to service this debt. Will they be able to? I think so. They managed to get through the last bear market. They got through it. Now, they didn't nearly have as much debt on their balance sheet than they do now with these converts. But beware. Not your keys, not your coins.
See, Benny's asking why MSTR over at ETFs.
It's counterparty risk everywhere, right? It's counterparty risk. So I think the ETFs have just as much counterparty risk as MicroStrategy. Like you're trusting somebody else with the ETF. You're trusting somebody else with those keys anyway. The ETFs are naturally decretive. So over time, the amount of Satoshis that each individual share of those Bitcoin ETFs, over time, that declines because there's a management fee. So at least with MicroStrategy, their goal is to make it accretive. Sats per share will increase, where the ETF are designed to decrease.
You're 100% right. There is one ETF that's in the States that extended their 0% management fees. So I would suggest if you're going to look to hold long-term in one, if you have to play this fiat game, you might as well look into that if you don't want to get like MSTR or whatever, because that way at least you're not going to get eaten away with management fees over time. But yeah, you're 100% right. People tend to forget there's management fees that are applicable with these ETFs, which kind of makes me like, like a traditional ETF, they have to do like rebalancing. They have to look at all the companies. They got to investigate and maybe put a new companies within their basket, take some out. What the fuck do they have to do with Bitcoin? You know what? Exactly. Like if anything, it should be as close to zero as possible, if not being zero, because the amount of work and effort required to maintain that is fuck all.
Yep.
And in some cases, when you're pawning it off to fucking Coinbase or shit like that, it is fuck all. Like, how much fucking work they gotta do? Anyways,
I completely agree. I completely agree. With the ETFs, there's counterparty risk with those ETFs. Just like with MicroStrategy as well, there's counterparty risk. And I know it's something you and Joey talk about all the time, and you hear it all over the place. Like, Sailor doesn't hold its own keys, right? MicroStrategy doesn't hold their own keys. That MicroStrategy has their Bitcoin. The last I heard, MicroStrategy has their Bitcoin between Coinbase and Fidelity, and there may or may not be other custodians as well. And people use that as a knock against them. I don't.
Well, I'm going to use it as a knock against them because they're trusting somebody else. I'd rather them trust themselves. Like, I would love to know, what is the mechanism for them to get their coin off Fidelity or Coinbase? Is it simply just a few telephone calls, or do they have to get a bunch of things signed off, or like, what is it? I mean, if it is a number of different things, getting a number of different people to agree to it, the exact same thing could be applied to a multi-sig. Just get those same individuals access to the keys, and they have to prove it. Could be like a 3 of 5 or whatever the fuck it could be. It's the exact same thing, but rather than somebody else holding on to it, or in this case, 2 other companies hold on it, you can hold it yourself, and it's just one less strike against you. Mark made a good point last week. Mark Cheknovich from EasyDNS. He said that perhaps it was the board that didn't agree with the fact for them holding on to their Bitcoin when they first got into this. Because remember, they first bought this in August 2021. I think August was the month.
Sounds about right.
The only thing I would suggest is that enough water has passed under the bridge, enough evidence to show why you would want to hold your own keys. We have Celsius, BlockFi, and think of all the customers that had their digital assets on there, not just Bitcoin, but even a shitcoin on there. They've been rugged. Voyager Digital is another one. So
yeah,
I mean,
but this is a publicly traded company, though, right?
But what about Tesla? Tesla, for everything I've tried to look at, they hold their own keys. Tesla, and one could say, maybe a small company. This is one of the biggest companies out there.
And it's a significant amount of Bitcoin that they hold as well, Tesla.
So anytime anybody says, give me a reason, no. I'm going to point to the shining lightest for Tesla as, here we go. Granted, it's a different animal because you have Elon being there, and he's a unique individual, and he has a lot more sway in that company versus somebody else in another company. But still, if Tesla could hold their own corn, anybody can.
I agree, but I do think it's not. This MicroStrategy Bitcoin play is their company now. It has become their company, and I don't know if expecting them to hold their own keys would fly with the board and would fly with shareholders, at least right now, with the way things are now. Going forward, it looks like there's going to be some sort of change in U.S. banking laws that may or may not happen when Trump gets in to give banks the opportunity to hold custody of keys. I'm with you. I would prefer them to hold their own keys, but I completely get it why they don't. And I don't hold it too much against them in this case as a public company.
I'll hold it against them. Benny's asking, could MSTR be the catalyzing rug pull for this cycle because they don't self-custody? I would say probably not. Even though I rag against it for not holding on to it, I think the likelihood of their corn getting yanked from under them, it's slim, but every day it's slim. Like, it's slim today, it's going to be slim tomorrow, it's going to be slim the next day. It's like every day you're rolling the dice.
It's not zero. Right.
And that's, think about it. If he's going out there and he's investing, so he's putting a lot of chips on Bitcoin going up in price, he's putting no chips in the fact that somebody else could rug his corn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, there's so much riding in it. It's not just his financial future, but the company's financial future, which a lot of people invested in. And they're saying, you know what, we don't trust ourselves, so to speak. We'll have somebody else trust or holding on to our Bitcoin. And you never know what could happen. It's a honeypot, right? Like you have, and I'm not to say that all their Bitcoin is going to be in one wallet in each Coinbase and Fidelity. I would have a feeling it would be like spread over multiple wallets. It just only makes sense because if somehow one gets improvised or it gets hacked, at least you only lose a little bit, a portion. It sucks, but losing a little bit sucks way less than losing it all. So I don't know.
I think it'll evolve over time, like this MicroStrategy custody thing. It hasn't been that long. The rules are not really, they're not great right now with the rules that they're kind of unclear. So I think MicroStrategy are going to be at the vanguard of this, of these new types of rules. They're gonna, it will evolve. But I'm with you. I don't like it that they don't hold their own keys, but I completely get why they don't. And if somebody wants to hold that against them, I completely get it. Like I completely understand. But when you're holding the ETF, when you're buying a BlackRock ETF, your counterparty risk is with BlackRock,
right,
and with where they hold their keys as well, right? So there's at least two points of failure. Same could be said for MicroStrategy. Okay, the MicroStrategy are a point of failure, and then Coinbase or Fidelity are the other point of failure.
See, they could reduce it to one if they just took that out of the equation. And I mean, I just look at that and say, you know what, it only makes sense. It's not like you have to have gold that's physically stored in a vault that somebody, you know, like a vault in London. This is a digital asset. Anybody can hold it. You could theoretically put it on your fucking cold card and carry it in your back pocket. So I don't know. I mean, the good news is what they're doing here with respect to buying and I don't want, you know, somehow holding Bitcoin. I know they don't hold it directly, but somehow, you know, they lay claim to it. Is other companies are doing the same, right?
Well, they're not doing exactly the same.
Okay.
Now, what MicroStrategy are doing, they're implying a treasury strategy. MicroStrategy are becoming a company that can, their product is making Bitcoin financial products, where a lot of these other companies are just holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet, where it's not the same. It's not exactly the same thing, but it is at least opening up the door for other people to be able to hold Bitcoin, and that's good. But I think what MicroStrategy are doing, I think it's quite unique, and I think that they're just in a very unique spot because they are such a small company outside of their Bitcoin holdings that their stock will move almost perfectly. I know not perfectly, there's other factors, but it will move very, very well, except more with the price of Bitcoin. So it'll track the price of Bitcoin very, very closely, where a lot of these other companies that are going to try to implement a similar strategy with these convertible bonds, their stocks won't move exactly the same way. And I think it's kind of a winner take all type of market. And if you're a pension fund and you're looking for Bitcoin exposure, I think you're going to want to go with the company that tracks Bitcoin the closest.
Bitcoin Well today just announced that they got some coin and added it to their balance sheet.
Great.
8% debt, I think it was the terms. So they're going to be borrowing, I believe, money or borrowing a nest. So it's, you know, 8%. If the price of Bitcoin goes up more than 8% through the duration of that, they come out ahead. That seems like a no-brainer. I've talked to Adam offline, and they hold their keys. They don't have anybody else trusting their keys. So with respect to that, I got to give them thumbs up for holding their keys.
Yeah. Look, I think it's great. And Bitcoin Well are also a publicly traded company.
Yes.
And this isn't financial advice on Bitcoin Well either, right?
Yeah.
But they're not in the same category as MicroStrategy. Like, this is Bitcoin Well. I know those guys pretty well. I really like them. I know their product. It's a good product. But in terms of how big of a company it is, it's not even in the same stratosphere as what Microsoft.
No, it isn't. But with respect to that, it goes that to show that even companies that are smaller, like a microcap, they could easily get wiped out if they make a few wrong decisions. They don't have the same buffer as, say, a larger company does. So for somebody like this to make this type of move, it's bold, but it goes to show you how much conviction they have in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it's a pretty significant size of their market cap, right? Like they're like a $20 million market cap company.
Okay.
And this is a $2 million purchase.
Could you repeat it? How much was the purchase? You just conked out.
2 million, I think.
Okay, so
I think it's a total of 2 million on a company that its market cap's around 20 million.
Yeah.
So that's significant. That's like 10% of their value. Now, Bitcoin are in debt, right? They are not cash flow positive. So they already have to service other debts. So
I don't want to make this all about them, but their debt, if you look at the debt per share, I think it is. I mean, that's been going down over time.
Yeah.
So they've been able to at least become more, not quite profitable, but closer to getting to be profitable.
They're moving in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And with this move too, depending on where Bitcoin goes, they could easily then at that point liquidate it and then just become really cash flow positive, at least for a very brief period of time. So good move on their part. I hope it works out well. 8% is kind of high, but I guess they had no other option really. There wasn't much of a market for this, so they had to take what they could get.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's a good thing. Like to me as a Bitcoiner, I like knowing that there's companies out there with skin in the game and they're holding Bitcoin. I really like that. But it's not the same as what MicroStrategy are doing. MicroStrategy are creating an entire business. They're becoming a Bitcoin treasury producing company that sells a specific product. These other companies that are seeing this the success that MicroStrategy is getting, I don't think they can replicate it in any way. I think MicroStrategy is in a sweet spot and in a winner-take-all type of market here. It's still good that these companies are out there doing it. I think it's awesome, but I don't think it's the same thing at all.
There was a 3-minute presentation done by Michael Saylor for the board of Microsoft.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
It was shit.
Why?
It was an awful presentation. I've never heard Michael Saylor sound so bored and he just had no energy whatsoever. He was rushing through these slides. Some of those slides were downright cringe. Like there was like the Donald Trump dancey thing. It was awful. No, I hope, I don't know what was leaked. Is that the actual thing that is going to be going to I'm not sure. Or maybe that's just him practicing that thing. I thought it was really bad. I wasn't impressed at all. I thought it was really bad.
So the only thing I would say, the only caveat, I'm on the board of us here, but with respect to these publicly traded companies, these large ones, I have no idea what these pitches look like, what they typically are all about. So this one might be par for the course, or it might be unique. I just don't know.
I don't know either,
because I just don't have enough information. And if this is par for the course, then they all have that same fiat tint to it. Which is,
and I heard on Twitter saying that Microsoft is going to come in and take over, and then MicroStrategy is going to go to zero, or not go to zero, but they're going to take over if Microsoft were to incorporate MicroStrategy's playbook, it's all over for MicroStrategy. That is completely false. It won't happen. It can't happen. Microsoft is too big of a company. Even if they went in and bought billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, it would pump our bags as Bitcoin holders. It definitely would pump our bags, but I don't think it would do anything to the stock of Microsoft. Microsoft is just way too big of a ship. They're how many? $2 trillion, $3 trillion. Like,
if not the largest by market cap, number 2. Like, it's just you're flipping and flopping.
Yeah. The stock would never move with Bitcoin. Like, it never would. They would have to have so much of it to move their stock, to incorporate MicroStrategy's playbook. MicroStrategy's playbook works because the shares of MicroStrategy move with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Microsoft can't buy enough Bitcoin to make their shares move with Bitcoin.
I'm just amazed. I have my head buried up my ass so far. I totally can't see the light here. I'm just amazed that Microsoft is like either one or the second largest company by market cap. Because I always, in the 90s, like when, I grew up in the 80s, 90s, they were the shits in 1990s and even early 2000s. If you had a computer, you had Windows, then you had Office. Like they had a monopoly on just about everything. But over time, a lot of people don't have computers. Like I know people that they use tablets or they use their phones or whatever. So in terms of how much people are relying on Microsoft Windows or Office or shit like that, it's been lessening over the years. But still, like I just don't understand how the fuck. I have to look at. I mean, I guess maybe their cloud-based business is just it's so big. But still, like what the fuck? Like this is interesting. I just
they've diversified into a ton of different things.
Gaming.
Cloud is big. LinkedIn. How much money are they making with LinkedIn?
I have no idea. I don't even know if that's profitable. Is LinkedIn profitable? I have no fucking clue.
No clue.
Yeah, same here. Like AI, they're a huge investor in OpenAI, right? They're one of the So that could be a huge cash cow for them moving forward. Should be a huge cash cow.
You know as well as I do, these big companies, they're benefiting from the money printer more than anyone, and they're benefiting from the ETFization of financial markets, right? Where there's so much passive flows into S&P 500 funds that the bigger companies are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're benefiting from that.
So Planet Musk is saying, point of clarification, bags are when you're holding or underwater. Yes? Nah. I mean, I would say I have, my Bitcoin bags are, I continually add them. I will pump them all day long, but not necessarily underwater. So, I mean, in my opinion, I would say it's just what you own, but that's just my point of view. I could be wrong. Bitcoin Blitz is saying, yeah, pretty much. So he kind of agrees with Planet Musk. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I want to go back to something somebody said in the chat a little while ago about the ETF. Why would somebody hold MicroStrategy instead of an ETF? And I want to ask you a question. If you were holding an ETF of oil versus holding a stock of Suncor or Chevron or something like that over an oil refinery, do you think that's the same thing?
No, because the ETF, I would imagine, gives you a broader exposure to the oil market. So if one has a particularly down period of time, it wouldn't truly impact the ETF negatively. Or just on the flip side, if it goes up, one of the companies just goes gangbusters, it won't positively impact. You're kind of playing the market, trying to level it out, so to speak.
Okay. Then, and this example was from Saylor himself, like in his earnings call, where he compared what MicroStrategy is doing to an oil refinery, where Bitcoin is the oil, right? Like the ETF, you hold the commodity, the thing. And that's great. Like this is a Bitcoin podcast. We're all here because of Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin's great. Like, so it's not a negative thing on Bitcoin at all. But Bitcoin is, it is just Bitcoin. Now, a company that comes along and that can do something with the Bitcoin, that adds value to it. Just like a refiner. Like a refiner takes oil, makes jet fuel, makes gasoline, diesel, fuel, all the way down to asphalt. There's value in extracting those things from the underlying asset. And that's what I think MicroStrategy is doing right now with these convertible bonds. And going forward, I have no idea what they're going to be able to do going forward, but I could definitely see them creating their own type of lightning, right? Like creating some sort of level 2 network with their Bitcoin. Saylor said it himself that he wants to become a Bitcoin bank. That's
scary. That's scary. I don't know why. Something about that just kind of scares me. Like it rubs me the wrong way. Maybe I'm just.
So would you rather it be MicroStrategy or be Royal Bank, TD, Bank of America, Wells
But
Fargo.
what would a bank offer in terms of Bitcoin services? When I could just simply own it and hold it myself, what does the bank do? What do they provide me? What sort of service is going to say with me, yeah, I'm going to work with you in one way, shape, or another? I
Well, a
just don't know.
mortgage, right? What if you wanted to, you had a little bit of Bitcoin, but not enough to buy a house, on its own? You have a fiat mining job, you have a regular job, and maybe by then it's at Bitcoinization, you have a SAT generating job. You're getting paid in Bitcoin, and you have savings in Bitcoin, but you don't have enough to buy a house, so you need a mortgage. So maybe in some sort of mortgage where you deposit some Bitcoin with the bank, and then the bank gives you a fiat mortgage on that Bitcoin.
That company's going to get wrecked in the long run.
Probably. There's definitely going to be people being rugged. Definitely. People are going to fuck around and find out for sure. I think we lost Len. Len, can you hear me? You're frozen. I don't know if anybody can hear me, but I think Len's frozen. You back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, I think bad weather over there?
No, just my router is just playing things. So I was trying to say, when that company would get wrecked over time, because when you're issuing debt in a Bitcoin system, in the long run, it's not going to be viable, because
Probably.
as there is some defaults, there's always some defaults in a debt-based system. When it comes to Bitcoin, it's not like you could create any more. There's a certain amount. So that's something that's,
maybe you're getting paid to deposit your Bitcoin in a certain place.
Maybe,
right? So, something like that. Like I
don't know.
Wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't lend out my Bitcoin. I wouldn't do it. But I can see that going forward, there might be something that I can't even imagine that companies are going to do something, right?
That's it. That's the best way to say it. We just can't connect the dots just yet. But I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about with MicroStrategy or anything? Because we're going up close to 50 minutes here. I don't want to keep you too long. But
yeah, I'm just taking a look. I created a little sheet of the things I wanted to hit on, and I think I hit on pretty much everything. The only thing I didn't mention was them getting included into index funds. So that's another reason why we might be seeing an increase in MicroStrategy's price, is because as they're getting bigger and bigger, they're moving up the charts of the list of the biggest companies in the United States. So they're ultimately going to be included in a lot of these passive ETFs.
And there's a positive feedback.
And then there's a positive feedback loop with that. So their price, in theory, at least,
yes,
would go up. So then they can issue more of these convertible bonds or issue more shares at the money, buy more Bitcoin with that. That causes the price of Bitcoin to go up, which then causes their shares to go up. And it just...
This is the theory. This is for people that are bullish on MicroStrategy and have some exposure to it. That's what they're thinking. Did you ever look at one of these MSTR ETFs that are leveraged?
Like, MSTX and MXTU, right? I think those are the two.
You got to be fucking absolutely degen to do that. I mean, bless you if you're doing it. I mean, fuck, you're degen if you are.
Well, I mean, is it any worse than options? People playing the options market, puts and calls and all that stuff. Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
To each their own. Like, what people do with their own money, it's on them.
If you get, whatever. I don't want to get too much into that, but you're right. You know what? I guess there's one last thing. I mean, we could end this MSTR thing. What's up with you these days? When's your next Bitcoin meetup in Ottawa, and where is it?
Well, first of all, tomorrow I'm going up to Montreal tomorrow. So there's a meetup in Montreal, the Bull Bitcoin, Panties for Bitcoin crew.
Where is it?
Doing a meetup, the same place it's always at. Like, you go on meetup.com. I put the address in my GPS and it takes me there. It's at a pub. It's been there for a million years in Old Montreal. So I got that this week, and then we got a meetup here in Ottawa on Wednesday, so a week from today. It's at Big Rig on the East End. So if you're in Ottawa, hit me up.
How often do you run those meetings?
Between 2 and 3 times a month. So we got two every that are always twice a month, always. And then we do like special ones every once in a while. So we did like a Bit Devs one a few weeks ago. Then we went to a business a couple of like last month. I do Bitcoin walks as well in the summertime, like Saturday mornings. So I aim for 3 a month, but 2 for sure.
You partnering up with anybody for those events?
Yeah, I mean, like, well, there's community here now, right? So I partner with the regular guys, with the regular people that come around. So there's like a community.
No,
now,
is Bull
probably
Bitcoin
like
involved? I mean, is anybody else involved?
not really, not officially.
Okay.
Like unofficially, sure. Like we got like Bull Bitcoin will support, but they, you know, they
Any hats or anything you're giving out? Just
they
so
did
you know.
like way back when
Beautiful.
they gave me some swag to give out. Like that was like 2 years ago. We got one of the guys actually lives in Ottawa. He works at Bitcoin Well, so he comes to the meetups and like he'll bring some stuff like every once in a while, like t-shirts and stuff to raffle off. But it's not official. It's just you know, anybody wants to come, they can.
I hope you'll go to it. In one day, Boomer, I'm gonna come to it as well.
For sure. Well, for sure.
I'll make the trip. I've seen you once in your hometown, but it was for something else, and I'd love to attend one of those meetups one day. We got to make it happen. But
absolutely. But before we go, I want to do one thing. You didn't have a no corner of the week this week, so I have a no corner of the week. Is this probably the first time you've ever done a no corner of the week on a Wednesday show?
I have one for next week. I already have one. But go ahead.
Well, I got one for this week.
Uh-huh.
I went out for wings last night with a couple of Bitcoiners.
Uh-huh.
And this restaurant has wing night on Monday night, Wednesday night, and anytime that there's an Ottawa Senators game. But last night, no wings. So like it was like the one time in the week, like because the Senators just happened to not be playing, and it wasn't a wing night. So my no corner of the week is the pub that I was at last night for not having wing night. Like how dare they not have wing night when like we were supposed to go for wings?
How close is that to the Corel Center play?
Actually, very close. Actually, extremely close. 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes.
Oh my god!
I don't want to mention their names, but
they're the no corners of the week. They're the no wingers of the week.
Wingers of the week.
Those motherfuckers. Anyway, Boomer, appreciate you taking the time yet again to come on the show, and hope you all enjoyed it. We'll be back at this again next week. Joey is back in the saddle on Monday, so if you want to hear some firsthand information of what it's like for him to become a father for the first time, definitely tune in. We're gonna hear some really good stories, I think. So, with that, take care, and you know what to say. I'll leave it to you, Boomer.
Don't be a cuck.